very, very entertaining. Now, let's tell you who's coming on the show today. We're out of time for news right now, but please tune in tonight by 6 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel, The Awake Nation News. We'll have more stories for you. But now let's tell you who's coming on the show, Penny.
And awake we go with a shot of espresso.
Good day and welcome to the Awake Nation guest interviews with guests who defy the mainstream narrative. Grab a cup of coffee while our guests brew the news for you. The Awake Nation, the truth with a shot of espresso.
The Mockingbird Media controls the narrative. We help you determine what is real and what is not.
Global conspiracy with key players at the highest levels of power reaches into the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of government, I will fear no Satans. Tuesday, November 21, 2023, our guests are
Christi Tasker. Christi Tasker is an award-winning technologist, international business consultant, designer, manufacturer, artisan. She designs and sells fashion, jewelry, home decor, and fabrics. Christi is also an investigative journalist based in Miami who travels globally to discover truth. She's an investigative journalist for the Awake Nation. You can find her at ChristiTasker.com, PSSRocks.com, PatriotsPerspective.com, and ChristiTasker4Miami.com.
Our next guest is Dr. Reg McDaniel. Dr. Reg McDaniel, New Eden Supplement. Currently, Dr. McDaniel is Director of Research at Wellness Quest, LLC. He has published numerous educational papers on the effects of glyconutritionals in relation to various conditions. Our next guest is Nathan Reynolds, author, Snatched from the Flame. Nathan Reynolds is an author who was used as a sleeper assassin. As a young boy, Nathan's innocence and body were used as currency to purchase influence and power by his deep-rooted Luciferian family members. You can purchase his audiobook at snatchedfromtheflames.com.
Rounding out the final hour of the Awake Nation is Hernando Arce. Hernando is a citizen journalist in Texas. He is a U.S. Navy veteran whose motto is for God and country. Hernando was illegally arrested while recording in a public Texas airport the illegal human trafficking invasion happening in America. He is choosing to fight to close our open borders.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Dark Outpost at darkoutpost.tv. There you will find exclusive content, interviews, documentaries, and intel not found anywhere else. For the full show, go to awakenation.tv. Falling down the rabbit hole can hurt. Ouch. Ow, that's going to hurt. We will provide the researchers and whistleblowers. Your mission is to discern the truth from the MSN lies. And now for the interview portion of the Awake Nation. And awake we go with a shot of espresso.
It's showtime.
It is indeed showtime, and time to bring on our very first guest, Christi Tasker. Christi, welcome back, and happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Wow, Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yes, and we have
I can't believe it's Thanksgiving, you guys.
I know. The whole year has gone by incredibly fast.
It has.
And next year needs to go by quickly, too, so we can get to the next election and hotfully get Trump back into office.
Yes. Apparently, there were a lot of people that couldn't believe that it was Tuesday because on Monday, I had a lot of people I'm not mentioning names. No, not just one. Okay, not just her. There are a lot of people saying, when am I on?
Yeah, I know. I think they were trying to rush the week along, Penny.
Right.
So they could like they were feeling like maybe they're, we're getting, a holiday, so we should rush the week along. I'm like,
Right.
Are you kidding me? Like, isn't it Monday? Please don't try to rush things. I don't need anybody rushing anything else in my life. It's going by way too fast as it is. And here in the sunny place for shady people, we are, you never know what even season it is because it's still 80 degrees here.
Everybody, I love that. The sunny place for shady people.
Right. That's right. Listen,
boy, I gotta write that one.
Here, Penny.
Miami, the sunny place for shady people. Y'all come move here now.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. Come on down. Come on down to the third world republic country where
the price is right.
Know who we are. Come on down to the banana republic with no bananas.
I can't wait to start your Banana Republic news. So we're gonna feature you on our Dark Outpost as well.
Oh yeah. Listen, Banana Republic news is going to be like no other.
When does that start? When do you do that?
It's actually, we're working on it right now.
Okay.
We're working on the site, David. You know how that is.
Oh yeah, well, I do.
Yeah, we're also going to be featured on another site. So we're going to be cutting out like an hour of our best show. So maybe we'll put you there too.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah, we need at least 15, 20 minutes a week, for Banana Republic news to give everybody a laugh. This is the news that should give everybody a laugh. Okay. Because you can't even make this stuff up. Every time I turn around and every time I talk to investigators, it's so funny to me how they really still are believing the labels themselves. And I'm like, guys, they want you to, that's exactly what they don't want you to pick up and look behind the label. And they're like, but he's this and she's this. And I'm like, no. These people, they're working on both sides and the middle to try to make you think otherwise. So let's just say we're getting somewhere. Today is, the third election this year for the same seat. So today is the runoff. Today is the final election to determine who actually is going to take the seat that I was running for. I mean, when I say we can't make this up, I mean, we cannot make up the amount of fraud, the amount of ridiculousness, the amount of people, though, are waking up. So, you know what? The population, they're in a lot of trouble when it comes to what Miamians are believing now, what they're not believing. It's crazy the amount of people that have called me that have said, oh, I didn't vote for you, but I'm wondering who should I vote for now? And I'm like, please, you're getting probably one of the same. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. Yeah. So I don't want to say it's funny because it's really not funny at all that this would be happening. But the reality is it's happening. And it's just going to be very interesting to see what happens in the end. But speaking of that, I want to share with our audience something today, David.
All right.
It is my grandparents' 69th wedding anniversary. This is their 60th.
Wow.
Their 60th. So I want to give them a big shout out.
Wow.
Because it is their 69th wedding anniversary. We're about to have a 70th cake. And they sound equally as good.
Very close to Rosalind Carter and Jimmy. 75 years, I think they were married.
Yeah. Speaking of that, my grandmother loved Rosalind Carter, loved to go to Jimmy Carter's Sunday school class.
Are you guys from Georgia?
No, yeah, we're from North Georgia. They were in South Georgia.
She went to Sunday school class?
My grandmother, not this grandmother, but my grandmother my grandfather worked at the State Department. So Jimmy Carter evidently taught a Sunday school class, and my grandmother used to love to go. Now, my grandfather, who is actually military intelligence, he did not like to go. He did not like Carter at all.
Well, there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah. So, my assessment was he was a failed president, but I believe both of them were good people. I really do. I don't see anything, but I mean, he did a lot post-presidency with Habitat for Humanity and some other things. I mean, nobody is perfect, but when you compare him to the evil that we have infesting Washington, D.C. right now, the pure evil. It makes him look like a saint.
Well,
Yeah.
David, I'm going to
He
remind
did
you of
some
one thing.
egregious things in
One
his
thing.
presidency.
Let me remind everybody of one thing. Who did Biden go visit?
Yeah, that was a weirdo picture too. Why did they look like they were, like
Because
imps?
Jimmy and Rosalind Carter are very small, and anytime you have somebody sitting in a chair and then other people forward, whether that was a real picture or not, I don't really know. I mean,
They look like little people.
I ran a check on it to find out if it was an actual photo or not, and it wouldn't come back clean either way. So we don't really know if that was real or not. Like, regardless.
I mean, many people don't know that, you're a prolific investigative journalist. So I have, told everybody that you're an international investigative journalist for the Awake Nation.
Yes, that is absolutely correct, Penny. It's like the mind won't stop. And when you know things geopolitically and things, what's happening in business, you can really put together the dots like really fast. Because believe it or not, it's a small group of people working together, playing both sides of the middle, and it's usually against the people. And
wow, it said Carter became the first American president born in a hospital.
Well, there you go. So that was evidently his initiative. We know what happens there. John Walsh was also the first one supposedly to have a child go missing too, right? Not, but when his child goes missing, look what happened. He's got a plan out here, and it's making millions of dollars right away in a period of a short period of months. Whereas, what did Jimmy Carter do? Make it cool to become a president? I mean, I
just remember that he invited all of the people from Haiti to come into Miami.
Oh, well, there we go.
And and that was the beginning of just an influx of people that when Castro opened up his prisons and his mental institutions, all those people came into the United States, not like the legit people who came in, who started Little Havana, who came through a legitimate process of immigration to the United States, who loved the United States of America for its land of the free and home of the brave. And now it doesn't seem like it is that anymore. Christy?
Well, when it comes to Haiti, I mean, we know what happened in Haiti. It is an absolute fact that children were stolen out of Haiti. That is nothing that we can deny. And they're constantly trying to take people out of their homes. Here's what we do know. I'm married in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is the other half of the island, same island as Haiti. Dominican Republic rarely receives bad weather. Haiti is constantly receiving bad weather. Haiti is full of absolute gold and rare gems, rare earth materials, let's just say. So much so that right now, I'm going to take this down while we're talking about this because that's a different topic. So much so that when it comes to Haiti, the Dominican Republic is the place where Hillary Clinton crossed the line to try to take the children out of Haiti. So they didn't get taken out of Haiti directly. They went through the Dominican Republic. Well, you know what's going on right now in the Dominican Republic? The Dominican Republic is labeled to be smart cities all over, all while they are digging tunnels into Haiti to steal their gems and steal their raw earth materials.
So I wanted to make a note that it was called the Mariel Boat Lift. It was a mass immigration of Cubans who traveled from Cuba's Mariel Harbor to the United States between April 15th and October 31st, 1980. The term Marielito, which that's when you guys were having wars in the streets, because I came back to Miami in 1983. I was told to get a gun. Is used to refer to these refugees in both Spanish and English. While the exodus was triggered by a sharp downturn in the Cuban economy, it followed the heels of generations of Cubans who had immigrated into the United States in previous decades. After 10,000 Cubans tried to gain asylum by taking refuge on the grounds of the Peruvian embassy, the Cuban government announced that anyone who wanted to leave could do so. The ensuing mass migration was organized by Cuban Americans with the agreement of Cuban
President Fidel Castro. The arrival of the refugees in the United States created political problems for U.S. President Jimmy Carter. The Carter administration struggled to develop a consistent response to the migrants. The Mariel boat lift was ended by mutual agreement between the two governments as late as October 1980, but by then as many as 125,266 Cubans had reached Florida. That's when it literally became, it's that in conjunction with the cocaine cowboys, it became
Yes.
just
It's
the
all a plan.
Wild West.
Well, what we have to realize, Penny, is all of this is a plan. So it's a plan by design. It's a political plan. It's being called out right now, 100%. Carte blanche on shows like this, because people are no longer listening to the mainstream media that can go through and cover things up. If we get something wrong, we'll come back and redact it, because there's nobody paying us to begin with to be here. There's nobody paying you. There's nobody paying David. There's nobody paying us. We do hope that the audience will, number one, appreciate our work and not, try to defame any of the guests coming on, because you're basically just trying to bring different viewpoints and different messages across. And number two, the only way that any of us make money is if you buy something that we have, or if you utilize, one of our services that we recommend. But I don't think any of us we don't even recommend services or things that we're not utilizing. Speaking of which, I wanted to share with you guys one of the things that I wanted to make sure the audience knew about. I posted this on my personal Facebook page earlier in the week, because my good friend Barbara Knight, who I call Barbie, passed away. And she passed away from AML, which is a rare form of leukemia, after having breast cancer. Okay, so she had breast cancer. Breast cancer was completely gone, according to records, for 6 months. Her brother is a doctor she lives in Boca. I don't want to say specifics, but she was a friend of President Trump's. And, I thought for sure Barbie would have known like all of the treatments available to her, but instead her brother really did not know. And they convinced her to take one of those crazy jabs that
Oh God.
And so guess what? Barbie comes down a few, less than 10 days. She comes down with AML, okay, from taking the shot. So please, please, please stop this madness. Stop your family members. I mean, stop it, because I'm telling you, I've got multiple people in my own family that have been damaged because of this shot. Okay. We are.
Look how beautiful you are.
Listen, so this is actually funny. So I was going to tell you a funny story. We were at Mar-a-Lago for her event in April, and she had been telling everybody, yeah, President Trump's going to come. He's going to come to the event. And I was like, quit telling people that. I'm telling her, quit telling people that. She's like, but why? I want to make sure it's well attended, and he's coming. And I was like, well, they shouldn't be coming for him. They should be coming for you. Like let's quit telling them that. Yeah. So right. I said, not that we might need it, because she kept saying she wasn't sure if she was going to make it to the next event. And I kept saying she is, of course, making sure that, we're supporting her and everything. And then also trying to find treatments, which I did. And that's what I'm going to tell people about. But I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, because I need to find out the legalities, David. So we're not getting anyone in trouble. But what I will say is this. She took the shot. Her brother, every doctor around the table that convinced her. And by the way, they put her around a boardroom table because she is a very, very good businesswoman. And she said her instincts told her not to take that shot. She only had one, not to take it, because she was already in remission. She was feeling good. She'd been feeling good for 6 months. She has a little girl. She has a little girl. This is her with her little girl. This is actually what her hair looked like right after. Okay. So a lot of people, keep asking me when were the pictures taken? Well, she of course was wearing a wig. Okay. So she wasn't really feeling that great for the gala, but you know what? She put on her wig. She put on her big girl panties and got in and do it. You can actually see in this photo, She had to wear this huge port, like going directly into her. And I'm saying this not without her permission, by the way, because I had many talks with her prior and said, if something happens to you, what do you want? Yeah, what do you want me to say? And she goes, I want you to say everything, because she was too tired to really say anything. And I'm going to tell you, we ended up finding, I'm going to take that off now, David. We ended up finding the truth about exactly what could have occurred with her therapy had she gotten it early on.
Right.
Okay. There is something. It's very simple. It's very inexpensive. And I'm just going to say, for right now, if you want to know what that is so that we don't get David in trouble, if you know of anybody that is going through or has been diagnosed with any kind of cancer, leukemia, anything that is internal, please send me a message on patriotsperspectivenews@gmail.com. And I will get you the link to a protocol that was recommended to Barbie, because I went through all of the advocacy for her to try to come off of the protocol that she was on. The problem with her was her veins were burned up already. So there was an issue where when your veins are burned up from chemotherapy and from all of these harmful things that you're putting into your body, then there is sometimes no going back.
Yes.
So her message is there was no going back for her. Okay. She looked everywhere. Money was no object for her. Okay. So this was not about money. This was not about being held back. This was not about anything. Matter of fact, she started the foundation to help other people. Matter of fact, I am like sometimes in tears reading through when I'm reading about other people, and the leukemia and everything. And so
is this protocol a natural substance as opposed to?
Yes, Christi, we have two people that are on our show on.
Okay.
One is a regular basis, D. Manny Mitchell, and also Kate Shimarani, and they both overcame breast cancer naturally, and they speak to that. She's Kate Shimarani.
Can you put the name of it in the private chat?
Kate Shimarani is in London, and she goes by a natural nurse in a toxic world. She spoke out about COVID-19 and was arrested, and she's been on our show for many, many months. She's on every Thursday.
Yep. I've listened to Kate. I love her story. I don't know exactly what she utilized, and what I've got is a protocol that was given to Barbie that I want to make sure that other people have access to, because it's something that she paid for and that she utilized. And then I can also put people in touch and tell them specific things, because you can't just even call up to try to get help, because there have been so many doctors that have been jailed and arrested for trying to help people naturally cure themselves of cancer. And it's not because it doesn't work. Trust me, it works. Absolutely works. The people that actually do it, the majority
Can you put it in the private chat?
I don't have it right now, David. It's a whole protocol, and that's
okay. So it's not just one particular.
No. It's not one particular. No.
Okay, send it to me. Send it to me. We'll make it available.
As you know, my husband died of cancer. My last husband, and yes, he also did stem cell transfer, but it was his fate to die. And that I had an adversarial relationship with him when I finally left after 25 years of marriage. And then before I left, he broke my ribs, and I said, God will take care of you. And he did.
Wow.
And so he went through chemotherapy, and he did not feel pain, which was very odd. I remember once he was fixing the car, and the wheel smashed his hand. And he came in and put ice on it, and then went back out and finished the brakes on the car. So, and he was also on inordinate amounts of pain medication, but he became legit crazy and psychopathic throughout the years that I was with him. He went through the normal course of chemo and then also stem cell, and he still died.
Yeah. because the chances of cure on that are like so minimal. It's like 2%. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually
It
crazy.
seems to me like that is so archaic. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's absolutely ridiculous that these particular easy to come by tools that could be made available to people, that doctors don't even give you a chance, because number one, the majority of them do not know. Like, they do not know. And matter of fact, some of them are so powerful that even Barbie's brother and her doctors were afraid of her, that it would further burn her veins. I mean, these are choices that people have to make. Okay. But I will tell you, if her veins weren't burned to begin with, this is it. I mean, there are choices that everybody has to make, and they have to feel the best that they can about themselves. And the reality is, there are so much easier things to do. Or I shouldn't say easier, but there are less cost-effective, more cost-effective things to do that people are actually having to run to other countries to get. So we should all be asking ourselves, why do we need to run to Canada to get our pharmaceuticals, so that we can get them for less expensive, or Europe for that matter, when you can just walk into a pharmacy and basically get the basic things like magnesiums and things like that we're not even thinking about. Salts, magnesiums, certain salts. Okay. So those are basic things that even, when I was finding myself like going through this campaign, I would forget to actually have like a little salt intake. Mom, what's the salt that you have for me? Celtic salt. Mm-hmm. So I would have Celtic salt, and basically that's what you find in Gatorade. That's actually what keeps people from swelling and stuff when they're going through surgery. And Gatorade, that's the reason they give you Gatorade. But you can just put a little bit of it in. You don't have to have the sugar and everything that comes with the Gatorade. So that's one of the things that is just a basic little thing. I mean, it's a $3 bag of salt that will last you for 6 months. But they don't want us to know about things like that. There's no way.
No, because they can't make money off of that.
That's
what this is all about. It's literally money for Dr. Death.
Yeah.
You get sucked into the illegitimate medical system with what is it? Is it called the cardouche with the two snakes wrapped around it, the medical symbol?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and supposedly the snake itself, the venom, the venom will counteract venom. So it's the craziest, thing. I don't know enough about that. I know Dr. Artis knows.
Well, and our next doctor, our next guest is also a medical doctor, Dr. Reg McDaniel, and he preaches proper nutrition also as a way to remain healthy. And I'm sure that he's agreeing with just about 90% of what you're saying. So,
right. That's the reason, David, I'm going to see if the person who gave the protocol will actually come on to talk to the audience as well.
Is it the Gerson protocol or a different one?
You know what, Penny, that's a good question. I'm not really sure what the official name. That's the reason I don't want to talk about it, because it's actually such basic things.
Yes.
It's such basic things but it has to be done in a certain order. And I don't want, our audience to go out, but that's the reason I'm saying.
I've had many friends also I met this girl back in 2018, and she's in San Diego, and she said, yes, I overcame cancer twice. I did not take chemotherapy. I did it naturally.
Yes. That was my point, making sure that if there is somebody out there, because I'm sure that somebody's gotten some bad diagnoses right before Thanksgiving, or, if they've got a family member going through something, I wanted them to have a way to reach out to me so that I can put them in touch with somebody if, they don't already have somebody that they're in touch with, just to let them know that, number one, this does actually work. And then there are things that I will get with you, David, that we can share with the audience of what you can also do to prevent even any disease, because some of the same parts prevents any diseases whatsoever. And I found a company that actually has it in a bar where you can just take a bite of a bar, like a little block every day, instead of even having to eat their plastic capsules, those everything's
Oh,
coming
yeah,
in.
yeah,
Well,
right.
I'm convinced, they can say that that's a veggie cap or whatever they want. I've never seen a vegetable look like plastic a day in my life. So like, I have a hard time like believing that those veggie caps are veggie caps, especially knowing that our bodies intake plastic.
It depends who's selling them. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today, but you want to give out your websites?
Yes,
and
everybody, please.
And also your address so that they can send to you if you get information about this protocol.
Yeah, for sure. David, I'm going to bring up my site really quick. Make sure that you go on to ChristiTasker.com. That's CHRISTI Tasker.com, where you will find all kinds of fun things to send to your family and friends. This is the way that you can help me out. Okay. This is the way that you can support my business, and I will continue to come on shows and do investigative journalism for you, because it's something that I naturally do anyway. So I thank you very much, David, for allowing me to come on today. And I look
appreciate you.
We're
glad you're a contributor. By the way, I've got a little tagline for your Banana Republic news.
Yeah.
We peel away the layers to get to the truth.
That's great. That's great, David. Well, I'm already calling them Miami monkeys. So if you have any other things, I like that.
That's good too. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next
Thank you, Christi.
Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Okay.
All right, y'all.
See you happy Tuesday.
Christi Tasker here on the Awake Nation, and she's fantastic. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dr. Reginald McDaniel will be with us.
Are you going to play the Thanksgiving?
Yes, I'm going to play the Thanksgiving thing now. I'm glad you reminded me, because I would not have done that, but that's a good idea. Now, folks, we are going to be off on Thanksgiving. However, we are going to be here, not live, but pre-recorded with a great show. Celebrating is a terrible term. How do you say it? Remembering the 60th anniversary of the JFK assassination. Check this out.
Awake Nation will be on vacation Thursday, November 23, 2023, in observance of Thanksgiving. We will return Friday, November 24. Thursday, November 23, 2023, please watch our Thanksgiving Day special. We begin with an hour interview from Dallas, Texas, in which I spoke with James Files, who states he fired the kill shot from behind the grassy knoll 60 years ago on that fateful day, November 22nd, 1963, which resulted in the death of President John F. Kennedy. He speaks candidly about his experience with the CIA as an operative with the mob, his career as an assassin, Sam Giancana, Judith Campbell Exner, Marilyn Monroe, as elucidated in his book. James Files is a co-author with wife Pamela Ray Files of Primary Target, JFK, How the CIA Used the Chicago Mob to Kill the President. You can purchase his book on Amazon.com. This is an interview you do not want to miss. Following our video with James Files, watch 3 hours of pre-recorded video with James Fetzer. James Fetzer, international speaker on JFK and founder of 911 Scholars, of which Jim Mars was a member. Jim Mars was the author of Crossfire, which was the basis for Oliver Stone's JFK. A great lineup for Thanksgiving you don't want to miss. It's Fetzer time. It's Fetzer time. It's Fetzer time. It's Fetzer time. It's Fetzer time.
And now, let's talk turkey. Remember to watch The Wake Nation daily, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central and 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. In remembrance of our friends near, dear, and departed. On behalf of The Wake Nation, with co-host David Zublick and Peniele Shepard, we humbly thank our Dark Outpost and Awake Nation family. Awake Nation wishes you and yours a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
And after that, we have to follow it up with bringing in our next guest, Dr. Reg McDaniel of Wellness Quest. Dr. McDaniel, welcome. How are you?
Can you hear me?
We can.
This is one of
Very
those rare
good.
days.
I found your interview with Christi Tasker fascinating, and almost everything she talked about, I've had experiences with it, had commentary. We could go on for hours, but let's move on to today's discussion. We were talking about the blue zones that the World Health Organization has identified, and that National Geographic, one of the most published materials on the planet, has had two issues focused on the blue zones, where people live to and live independently up to the 90s and over 100 and in good health. And the most important thing that I could say about this is that I took about 6 hours of lectures and tried to reduce them to about 30 minutes that you've given me, and that you don't have to move to these islands or these isolated peninsulas to get the benefits of longevity with good health if you add to your diet the nutrients that are in New Eden that we discuss, and that if you put a scoop with your meal 3 times a day and have enough exercise to equivalent to about 3 miles a week, that you can enjoy the benefits of these blue zones that are very isolated areas where the quality of life and activity daily is decades in the past. Fact is, the island west of Italy, they said that the lifestyle and activities were very similar to when Rome and the Romans were the prominent nation in the Mediterranean area. And so the most important thing is that you don't have to move there to get the benefits of good health and longevity. And then with this period of inflation and exploitive prices of health care, including drugs, and if you have to go in the hospital, heaven help you.
Yeah.
And pay for it, or any business can handle it. And if you're in ICU, it can drain the expenses of a lifetime and savings. So more comprehensive nutrition is safe, effective, and economical. And if we'll go to the 6th slide on this essay that you've got up there, number 6, that's it right there. What I want to bring out is that vaccines have been politicalized. That used to be the definition at the Center for Disease, that a vaccine is a activity to prevent infections. And since the RNA shots don't do this, they changed the definition of a vaccine to a substance that stimulates the immune system. Well, down at Texas A&M School of Veterinary Medicine, some very interesting things happened. And the slide before this was a experiment they did in 20 weanling cats. And the model that for the common cold and influenza to try to test in animals is to take rhinotracheitis virus and saline and flush it in the nose of kittens, and then to test against this what you think might be something to stop or prevent the cold or the flu. And so they took 20 cats, they divided them into two groups. One group was just a control group that only had the rhinotracheitis virus in saline flushed in their nose. And then they had the intervention group where they took the active ingredient from the aloe leaf gel, which is acetylated mannose or ace mannin, and in a meatball 30 minutes before they put the rhinotracheitis virus in their nose, they gave them this meatball. Well, first, the ones that got the active ingredient from the aloe plant, which is a unrecognized nutrient that's essential in cellular synthesis for host protection, 8 of the 10 cats had absolutely no symptoms whatsoever. 2 cats for 2 days had runny eyes, nose, coughing, fever, and the typical things of the flu or a bad cold. The control animals was 100% infection, and 1 cat died of pneumonia, which is if you have thousands of people with a cold or thousands of people with the influenza, you'll have some deaths, sometimes due to complicated things, either too old, too young, or they're smokers, or they have poor diet. Well, this resonated with the researchers at Texas A&M, and at about the same time we found out that there was a white cell called a macrophage that when you gave the active ingredient from the aloe, they would gobble it up. Macrophage means, it says big eater from the Greek. And you could see with special stains, these long chains of the active ingredient from the aloe in the cytoplasm of the cells for about 5 to 7 days. And they said, well, there is a researcher that recognizes that these cells also have an analytical activity rather than just gobbling up trash inside the body. And they migrate into tissues, and if they find anything abnormal, they release either cytokines or interferons or little molecules that influence the liver, the lymph nodes, the body's host defense system to activate. And they took a small amount of this material from the aloe leaf and mixed it with a research vaccine for a viral infection in horses. I'd never heard of the virus before, but they could not get a protective titer to protect the horses from this virus. By adding a small amount of this ace mannin, they got protective antibody levels like they had never seen before. They took a worthless vaccine and made it effective. Well, they immediately shifted to chickens. Well, we were at the company kind of disappointed, all being Texans. We liked the idea of protecting horses, but here you go to chickens. And we said, is it because they're cheap? And they said, well, the number one use of vaccines on planet Earth is in the broiler chicken industry because they raise them with 10 to 20,000 in a barn type environment, and if any kind of virus gets going, they'll have terrible infection, and the whole flock will die. And that they're fed out about 50 or 60 days, and then you put another group of chickens in and you vaccinate all of them, and that's the reason it's the number one thing. Well, they did this and found out that vaccine that gave about a 60 to 65% herd or flock protection went to near 90% or better. It enhanced the vaccine for the little chickens. They turned this over to Solvay of Belgium, and they kind of were cynical that down at Texas A&M, these Texans didn't know what they were doing, thinking they could make our vaccine better. So they did a few hundred chickens and found out, lo and behold, the same thing. And this is the cover of a thing they sent to all their people that were chicken broiler companies that raise chickens. That is the biggest thing to come along in years. And I'll now go to the next slide, which will show what's inside of it, what they did. And this was the first really big experiment that 21,890,812 chicks were in all these studies to prove that this active ingredient that is in the New Eden to give protection to anyone that adds it to their diet, that this is a level of validation that is seldom done. And I will go through this. I've got a little summary there below that will go into details, but the flock protection of 65% went to 90% or higher, almost 100%. And they figured that actually those that didn't get protection, they were doing this so fast the day they're hatched that they debeak them and they put a drop of vaccine in the nose. They did it so fast that they missed them. It was the only reason it wasn't 100%. They found out that the chicks gained more weight on less chow, which if you're in business, hey, that's good. Also, in their trivalent vaccine, which is the viruses of baby chicks, they're equivalent, say, to the DPT shot of human babies for diphtheria, pertussis, and the tetanus. That it is the three viruses are Newcastle, Marek's virus, and hemorrhagic bursal disease. Well, the Marek's virus causes a chicken lymph node malignancy called T lymphoma. And this is the biggest loss that can happen in the broiler industry. And this virus making lymphoma was totally eliminated when this was added to the vaccine. That the mortality reduced rate for all the broilers was reduced, and that as I said, there was more weight for the chickens with less food. Now let's go to the next slide real rapidly, because you will never have any higher numbers to prove the benefits of a vaccine. Now you'll see sort of the maroon thing of what happens with the standard vaccine, but the blue that you see there is the increased protection at 1, 2, and 3, and 4 days when you add this small amount of Ace Mannin, which is in New Eden, to the vaccine. Next slide, please. This shows you on the 4th day how much more protection that the chicks, there was a 70% protection of all the chickens by the 4th day, whereas with plain vaccine, it was only a 50% of the flock protection. Next slide, please. This is just for the infectious bursal viral protection. You can see how much higher it was. Again, it's 88% protection against this one of the viruses that's in this triple vaccine. Next slide, please. That was the Newcastle that we got by fast that showed its improvement. And this is they use 23 broiler companies to get that 21 million. And 21 of the 23 companies had significant improvement in their vaccination and protection of the chickens. In biology, there's almost nothing that's 100%, but 21 out of 23 companies showing the types of benefit I just got through showing you by adding just a small amount. And they immediately changed how they were formulating their vaccines for all these companies because of this increased protection of 21 out of 23 companies. Next slide, please. One of the big problems in these houses of all these chickens is if it gets too hot. And one of the things they found out that by this added to the vaccine, that it lowered the mortality rate of the chickens if they did get heat stressed. And that's what they're showing there, the blue being better than the routine vaccine to give protection against heat stress. Next slide, please. This is the slide about the thing that really got my attention, that you got more weight in chicken, the flesh that you're going to send to the market with less food. And next slide, please. This really got my attention, having 1952, a year of vocational agriculture training. And I went to him and said, how in the world can these chickens gain more weight on less food? And what we found out is with the standard vaccine, the baby chickens, when you put them back into the house, they just stand there and fluff up their feathers, quench their eyes, and don't eat or drink for 24 to 36 hours like they don't feel good. And this was important because the short period of time that you have them in the house to feed them, to send them to the market, that when you have this high numbers, you can detect very small changes. And just this not eating or drinking for 24 to 36 hours, when you're doing huge numbers, you can detect that small amount. And this immediately gave me a thing, being a human doctor, that children that get the DPT shots, about 100% of them have irritability. They cry all night, keep their mother and father up. They will not eat or drink. Sometimes they have a little diarrhea, they have fever. That's the minimum response to the DPT shot. But then as a physician that traveled I've lectured in 15 countries, time and time again, I had a parent bring me a child that couldn't lift its head up, that was in a wheelchair, saying this was a normal child until we gave her the DPT shots, and they had all these symptoms that I just told you, which are typical in 100% when you have the DPT shot. However, the pediatrician said they had evidence of an encephalitis, that there was effect to the brain. And in fact, these children would be wheelchair bound. And I, as a physician, there's a old Latin phrase that do no harm. I wanted to think that maybe the stress of the DPT shot unmasked a gene defect, and that surely, given this DPT shot, did not cause this. No doctor would want to wipe out the future of a child. Well, eventually, I had parents come to me saying that the first shot of the DPT caused a very bad reaction, and they never wanted to have another one. However, their pediatrician says, well, you can't, well, I won't take care of them if you don't have the second DPT shot. Right. And they found out they couldn't get into school if they didn't have it. So they gave them the second shot with great trepidation, and nothing happened. And what we found out is in the interim, they had been put on the supplementation to their diet, the active ingredient from the aloe plant, just like the baby chickens, that if you added just the small amount of the aloe-ace mannan to the vaccine, they would jump back into the house and they would eat and drink. They wouldn't fluff up their feathers, and they wouldn't act like they were sick. So this is something that has not been investigated. It would take who knows how much millions of dollars to do such a study to find out if you added the active ingredient, the aloe, to the DPT shot, if you could eliminate the symptoms that are typical of a DPT shot. And it was the millions of baby chickens that could detect this amount. So what I'm telling you is that you can learn a lot in animal experimentation, because the biochemistry in the animal kingdom, in many ways, of all animals, including humans, are very similar, though there are differences of certainly. But this is something that really calls out to be looked at, because if you could do this, then whereas the baby chickens had absolutely no symptoms, that would be wonderful if you could improve the vaccines for children, which are mandated in so many ways by the medical profession as well as the schools. So that is the research that I wanted to share with you. I think we've got about taken up about 30 minutes. Do you have any questions?
So basically, it sounds to me like what you're saying is if you use the proper nutrition, for example, that's found in the New Eden, you don't have to. Am I correct in saying you don't have to eat as much? You're gonna find yourself consuming less and therefore maintaining a healthy weight as well as everything else?
Yes, we've had time and time again. That's another lecture that I've got, that people lose 15 to 25 pounds without even trying, even though they have tried all kinds of different diets with their doctor, and they wouldn't lose weight. Sometimes they gained weight.
Right.
And I worked with a physician in Oregon. That's another long story, but we think that there's a activity of the brain that influences appetite, that if you don't have critical molecules that are nutritional in your diet, the message gets sent from the brain to your body: eat till you find it. Because time and time again, we find these people, they can control their appetite when they have New Eden in their food supply, which simplified is this is molecules that used to be in the family garden or orchard when the plants were growing on soil that had up to 70 minerals in it that tend to be depleted now. And they allowed the fruit or vegetable to mature on the plant, because if you pick it green, the principal molecule in it is chlorophyll. Well, chlorophyll is a wonderful, incredible molecule. It's just not required by the genes and cellular synthesis to make bioactive molecules that run the biochemistry of life. And so, yes, you're right that and also one of the most remarkable things is the most resistant obesity in the human being is type 2 diabetes.
Right.
We've had many type 2 diabetics that would lose 25 to 50 pounds. And actually the record was a 550-pound Sioux Brave up in the Indian reservation that weighed 550 pounds, and he lost 150 pounds. And they were going to amputate his legs due to non-healing sores and osteomyelitis of infection into the bone. And his legs up to his knees were bluish gray. Adding this to his diet, his legs peaked up, the sores healed, the osteomyelitis went away. And as I say, this type 2 diabetic lost 150 pounds because that signal from not having these proper nutrients in the diet seems to affect the brain to eat till you find what's missing. And when you provide it in New Eden, you don't have that signal, eat till you find it, because it's there.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I want to tell you this nutrition right here, this has everything you need. All you have to do is go to our website, awakenation.tv. There's a jar of this right there on the homepage. You can't miss it. click on it and order this. You're going to want to have at least two, one currently and one for backup. Always have two, at least two in your cabinet. You take a scoopful of this with the best way to get it into your body is with yogurt. You can do it just about anything. But yogurt is the best. Take a scoop or two in the morning, scoop or two at night, and believe me, you're going to get proper nutrition. This is not a supplement. This is nutrition itself, and it really is fantastic. I take it every day.
And by adding this to your diet, you get the benefits of the blue zones if you'll add exercise, which gives you synergism. Fact is, Hippocrates, before our calendar even started, if you go on Outlook, you can get his sayings. And he says, if we could provide to the individual the proper optimal nutrition and exercise, not too much, not too little, we'd have found the safest pathway to good health. And beneath this, he wrote, let your food be your medicine and your medicine your food. As I say, I'm just a messenger and servant because it's hard to get ahead of Hippocrates and his insight and wisdom. Well,
and I believe he also said something similar to the effect that all disease begins in the gut. So if you're going to eat properly and get the right nutrition into your body, you're gonna keep your gut health, which I think is also going to be of tremendous value. Dr. McDaniel, we look forward to talking to you again next time. Have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And it's wonderful to be with Wake Nation and to hear the interview with Christi that hit so many important subjects that I'd like to respond to, but we don't have time.
Well, we'll make time for you. We can have you on, in the future. We'll get into some of these other things as well. I really would like to get your thoughts on what she was talking about. So we'll do that maybe next time. Okay. I'd like that.
That's it.
Thanь you so much. God bless you, sir. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Oh, Dr. Reginald McDaniel here on the Awake Nation. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but seriously, okay? New Eden. Go to awakenation.tv. Can't miss it. Right there on the homepage. All right. Time to bring in our next guest, who's also about keeping yourself at your optimum best. And, of course, is Nathan Reynolds. Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Great. Penny, David, how are you all doing?
We're doing good.
2 days away from Thanksgiving, and we're ready to go. I mean,
Y'all fired up? Come on.
We are fired up, I have a recipe. I got to give my recipe out for blackened turkey. It's really delicious. You know how you make it? I'll give it to you right now. You baste the turkey, right? It's got to be, first of all, it has to be all natural, organic. Don't get anything from the store. Organic turkey. Put it in the oven. You preheat the oven to 325. Okay. You put it on, you baste it, you stuff it, you put it in the oven, and then you get on your favorite social media platform for 6 hours. And as soon as you hear your fire alarm go off, you take it out, and you got blackened turkey right there.
I was going to ask, does this involve a blowtorch?
It does. That's one of my favorite scenes from the movie The Santa Claus with Tim Allen is when he's making Christmas Eve dinner and burns the turkey and he's using a fire extinguisher to blow it out. Then he ended up going to Denny's for dinner. Remember that? Anyway, so Nathan, what do you want to talk to us about today?
Did he just freeze?
Oh, he did.
Either that or he doesn't want to talk about anything.
I think he froze.
Okay.
Either that
turkey.
My story.
Remember to thaw out your turkey because you don't want your turkey to be frozen. Yes. Have you ever, like in your younger years, put the turkey in the oven and then forgot to turn the oven on?
No, never did that, and we never put one that was frozen. We always buy it and put it immediately in the refrigerator for several days to thaw, and then we put it in some water in the sink to thaw it further. And then,
so Nathan, what are your Thanksgiving recipes? What are you going to be serving for Thanksgiving?
I don't have any plans for Thanksgiving. I'll be totally honest. I don't keep track too much of the more traditional holidays in any sense of the word.
You know what? Good for you. That's all right.
I live a very nomadic pilgrimage like lifestyle, y'all, and I got completely passionate about.
You're like an original pilgrim.
Yeah, it's a real thing, y'all. I just got back from a couple thousand miles of traveling, and we've
Oh,
been,
wow.
I mean, full time all over this country. And
Can you tell us where did you go? What did you do in that travel?
Oh man, well, are you more recently? I went out to the
Yes.
Carolinas, which was lovely. It's one of my favorite places in the
Oh,
country. I
yeah.
absolutely love it. And any chance I can go out there, it's like a huge opportunity to do that. But we like to go back to certain areas of this country that we have found to just be like darn near Garden of Edens in North Carolina, the Appalachian Mountains, and it's just one of our favorite places in the world. We love it. The people there are quite exquisite. Some of them very ridiculously wild, and it's a good place to be. That's where I started. That's where I became a goat shepherd, and it just changed my life forever. It made me want to be a sheep shepherd and kill all the goats. So
Why the goats were bad? Were the goats bad?
I will serve. I'm cooking a leg of lamb today. I'm hungry and I'm going to eat sheep. It's delicious.
Hey,
Especially when I
listen,
butcher myself.
leg of lamb. That's awesome. I like leg of lamb.
Don't mess around, man. Have a leg of lamb, David. I am telling you, you think turkey's good. Now, that being said, we got turkeys while we were in North Carolina. We got something that's called a Narragansett turkey. If y'all haven't heard, there's these other birds out there other than just the mainstream one that you're going to buy at the store every single time. There's like dozens of different varieties of turkeys. They're called heritage birds. And the meat tastes like no turkey you've ever had in your life. And the Narragansett is
like chicken.
Yeah, it doesn't. Turkey meat tastes completely distinct from it because they are out there. Like we had wild turkeys. They're called Narragansetts, and they were the most popular eating turkey up until the modern version of turkeys in the mass production side of it, because they're slower to gain weight, and so they're less desirable to a lot of the industry, the corporatized mass merchant side of food production. But Narragansett turkey meat was considered the premium tasting turkey meat that there was, and they're incredibly smart bird. We ended up getting a couple of them out in North Carolina, and we raised those things up in our RV at the time. And it was like my daughter, she's ridiculous, man. She made these things like pets, like real life pets. They lived in our RV, which was insane. And they got bigger and bigger and bigger till we took them down to Texas, and then they started flying. And they can fly like a good long distance, but they're the best like omnivores. They hunt through the forest, and their meat that you get out of a bird that is actually kind of wild foraging, and the one that is in these more heritage varieties, it just tastes like a totally different animal. Yeah. So I always try to encourage people, if you're gonna go have Thanksgiving, if you're gonna go have something like that, and you're gonna eat a turkey or whatever, y'all, experiment outside of the norm. Look up a local bird farm, like a place that raises turkeys. You can find these people. Like, they're real humans out there who are trying to go against the normal grain. Now, it may cost substantially more, but if you're going to buy an organic turkey already, you're already going to be paying a premium. And so if you can support somebody that's raising up these animals on their own, it's an incredible satisfaction, and it makes people's livelihoods continue on. Some of these people, like ours, were going to take about 18 months before we got to butcher them, and we raised alongside them these other, like the more traditional ones you're going to go get at Tractor Supply, and those things were genetic mutants, y'all. Like eight out of 10 of those birds, we got 10 of them, 8 out of 10 of them had such genetic abnormalities. They had like legs growing backwards and inside out. Like, they were so jacked up genetically. And this is from a lot of genetic engineering and stuff like that goes into them. And then even the 2 that were like the healthy ones that made it, like their chest grew so fast, so quickly, overwhelmed their like body weight. And so they would just lean forward and drag their chests on the ground until they had open sores that were like ripped open. And so it's like, and this is normal. Oh yeah. Last summer, we lived next to a large turkey farm where they had like 40,000 turkeys inside this space. And I went up there, man. I'm telling you guys that if you just see where mass food production comes from on the meat side and on the agricultural side, on like the raw vegetables, it's incredibly beneficial for you to know where your food comes from.
Yeah, well, they always say, no, you never want to see how the sausage is made. They always say that.
Nor do you want to see how it was slaughtered,
No,
it's really important though for you to do that. It'll give you a new respect for people that are trying to do this on a smaller scale. Like, it'll give you a relationship with your local butcher, like somebody who's actually taking the time to butcher animals from the people that are in the area that are growing them. Because in these large scales factory, like that one that I was around, within a 2-mile area, there was 2 million turkeys that were being raised up. And the way that they do it is they all just start their life inside the barn, and they never get outside of it. So when they die in there, there was like 18 inches of feces, dead birds, feathers, and just this horrible, wretched smell of ammonia that would burn
all the reasons as to why I'm an actual vegetarian. I have some questions from our live chat. Are you ready?
You bet. Okay. Let's fire them off.
Here's one. For Nathan, as an assassin, how have you not been arrested by the corrupt government? I'm in favor of wiping off the scum that hurts our children.
Great question. On one side of it, there was a lot of immunity that I had during the times when I was operating and committing special kill operations for the United States military, and then within the families that I was in down in Arizona. And so you get second side of it is that if they were to arrest me and indict me for any of these things or bring up charges on me, it would also give a lot of credence to my testimony and my story of what has taken place over the time. So you really have to deal with, like, when somebody has been a part of organized crime and has done a lot of the killing and done a lot of the dirty deeds and dirty secrets, they carry in them the ability to bring forth a lot of that evidence should we ever go to trial. Like, I have within me the ability to expose a lot of people that are part of this, and that would require those people to engage in what's called discovery during the course of a trial, which means I have legal rights to be able to get documents that they do not want to come forward and to be brought onto the public record. And so there's a mutual incentivization. It's kind of like mutually assured destruction. You know, if they go after me, yeah, you know, it might be bad for me, but on the other side of it, it's going to be bad for a lot of the people because it's going to bring them and drag them through the press that they don't want it to come forth. On the other side of it too, I really do believe that we have protection from our Heavenly Father to be able to come out and speak these things, because this is the kind of the season of the revelation of the beast system. Never before have we all had the opportunity to come out and talk about all of these details of how these criminals are engaging in absolute treasonous activities on a whole scale. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, or even 50 years ago, it was executable. People were thrown in prison for talking about this stuff. They had different ways of dealing with it. Whereas now it's kind of like the time where knowledge increases to and fro, and everyone's be able to come forth like never before.
Excellent. And then I have another question, which it is a question. Why do you love knives? My boss loves knives.
Knives on one side of it. Oh, okay. Let me just go into knives then for a second here, because I do love knives. Knives are an incredibly effective tool. You can use a knife. I encourage people, if there's one tool that you're going to ever get, I'm going to say two, because I'm biased like that. A flashlight, like this is a Nightcore P18 flashlight. I love this flashlight. It's got a red light feature, which is great. And then it's got a super bright feature, which
what does a red light do?
Awesome. A red light is a way of retaining your night vision on one side of it, so that, like, when you don't want to blind you have natural night vision that turns on. Generally takes most people's eyes about 10 to 15 minutes to really turn into more full night vision that the human eye can actually perceive. But the red light helps to retain a lot of that. And so at night or in darkness, using a red light allows you to be able to see. But then if you turn off the light and you're in that darkness, you still are able to see very well. Green light is the one our eyes most readily can detect and see. Green light is the color that we see the fastest. And so there's also green light options for a lot of night operation stuff. But a flashlight is one of the most incredible tools. If you carry a flashlight, you'll be blown away at how many times you're drawn to use it. But a knife, by and far, like I love neck knives personally, because it's really nice to just have something that's a fixed blade knife is much more valuable to me than any folding knife. I like folding knives too, but a fixed blade knife is something that you can grab, hold out, use anytime you need to. I mostly cut boxes with this. You know, there's a lot of people who reach out and grab some junky pair of scissors. What's that?
Is that a box cutter?
Not a box cutter. No, this is like a reverse Tonto. I made this kind of shape on this one.
Oh, very nice.
Most of the knives you guys have seen me wearing all the time is made by Genesis Neck Knife by MT Knives. This is a good friend of mine, Patrick Roman, makes these. These are absolutely astounding. It'll be the sharp. If you ever buy the mtknives.com, or is his website. If you ever buy a knife and have it shipped to you and they're like dull as a box of rocks, it's disgusting and embarrassing and a total mockery of what a knife is supposed to be. This knife, he sharpens to where you can shave, not just like hair, not just like your hair with it, like you can split individual hairs with it.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. So it's, when you use a super sharp knife, it's satisfying. Like I sharpen knives very diligently. I've sharpened thousands of knives over the years with this knife sharpening system that I use. And I like to sharpen people's kitchen knives, because most people use kitchen knives and they're dull and they're using pressure to crush their way through stuff. And they're really annoyed at it. Or they buy like serrated knives because they cut on improper surfaces like ceramic or plates or metal. And they have these super dull knives. And so most people's relationships with knives is kind of annoyed. And they kind of think they're just obnoxious and they're not really worth all that. That's because they're super dull. But if you take the time to learn a skill, one skill of any skill in your entire life that you can learn, to sharpen a knife, you will always be needed in society. Everyone will need
a guy
you,
that comes to our neighborhood. He drives a little truck, almost like an ice cream truck. But all he does is he sharpens knives.
Okay.
That's all he does. It's like
so what happens when the little kids hear the ice cream truck thing? Do they run out and say?
Well, it's a different kind of a sound. You know,
Okay.
you know,
The grinding sound.
he plays
It's
the
a
theme
great
from
sound.
Halloween.
No, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all.
Very
Okay,
cool.
I get it. We have a pretty strong gun culture in our country and everything like that. I love firearms. I think they're incredibly valuable. Most people don't train with them enough, so they're not really proficient with it in the time of deep stress and distress. But I tell people all the time, like a single knife. Okay, this is like my favorite pocket knife. This is called the Bench. This is made by a company called Benchmade. They make this in the United States. This is their Osborne 940. This is like the best pocket knife I've ever had. Best, absolutely love this thing. It's incredible. It's fast to deploy. It's a great blade shape, blade profile. I use this one on moderate regularity. Okay. If you carry a knife with you on your person every day, you will start to use it in times when you would have never thought so. You're like, well, I don't know why people really need a knife. It's because you've never carried one. As soon as you carry one on a regular basis, you'll be astounded at how many times you pull that thing out and you cut stuff open and you're going to smile. You're going to smile because you're satisfied. You've done something like with your own hand. That's an extension, like with the tool, that's an extension of your being. This is like their smaller version of it. I have this belief, and you should apply this. If you take your hand, you guys, y'all hold up your hand. You have a finger on here, your pointer index finger. You picked your nose with this. You have typed with this. You've written with this. You've been using this thing your entire life. You wipe your butt with it. You know exactly how big this finger is. Okay, that's a good indicator of how long your blade length should be on a knife, the one that you carry on a regular basis, because you're comfortable with that. If you go and get a knife that's bigger than that, like here's another knife that a sniper gave me. This is a bigger knife. This is designed. This is called a Strider knife. These are incredibly nice, like custom knives that are made for people that do sneaky stuff with bad guys. It's a big, wide knife so that it makes a huge wound cavity inside of a human body when it kills somebody or stabs somebody. This is what it was designed to do. It's also like a knife that a soldier can carry and use on a regular basis. It's super heavy. It's made of metal almost entirely. There's titanium on one side. It's heavy. It's large. It's super intense. And when I pull this thing out, people get nervous, right? People are like, oh, it's a little bit scary.
I wonder why.
You know, I don't know, Nathan. I was this last Sunday. I spoke with James Files. James Files is a mercenary and an assassin, and he is the individual who fired the shot from the grassy knoll that was the kill shot for John F. Kennedy. So he is a professional mercenary and assassin for the mob and for the CIA. That interview we'll come forward with that interview on Thursday. That's actually our Thanksgiving special. Not to interrupt you, but I do want to ask you another question. I have another question for Nathan. How do we start a national stewardship program for farmers and craftsmen who want to network and train others to live by the old ways?
That's a great question. How to start one? Well, I mean, you need network. First of all, you need networks, and you need people that are willing to connect and build relationships on one side of it. That comes through meeting the people that are in your local area on one side of it. That's the best way that I have found to do it. But I'm also a little more mobile. I've been able to travel physically to meet people. I believe that's the best thing we can ever do is travel and break bread with another person, like get to know their family and build a relationship with somebody else and meet their needs. That's, to me, has been one of the most effective ways of doing that. However, on a larger scale, that's going to require organization, and people who are talented and gifted at making connections and building those bridges are invaluable for that. So that would be.
I have another question for you. Let's go back to the knives. How dangerous is a dull knife?
The most dangerous thinking thing in the world is a dull knife. Two things: somebody who has a gun and is not willing to use it. That's the most dangerous thing that's stinking on the face of the earth.
Yeah,
the second thing is a dull knife because it's unpredictable. Now, this knife is super sharp. If I hand this knife to somebody else that has never used like an absolute scary sharp knife, it's very likely that they could hurt themselves. And I mean, like, you're not just going to cut yourself. You might sever a tendon. You'll go down to bone. Like when I cut myself with one of my knives, I cut to the bone. It's really bad. Like it's bad. However, a sharp knife will heal faster because the edge separates the skin or the material very, very evenly. And so the skin is able to come back and heal itself much more readily. But a dull knife, it leaves these ragged, jagged tears through the skin, tears through the material. So it takes a lot longer to hold. But a dull knife is unpredictable. This is why when you see people trying to chop something and they make this rocking motion where they're forcing their way through to something, or they're really sawing to try to find somewhere that edge is still sharp, that's really dangerous because you don't know exactly when it's actually going to give way or get loose. People get hurt with knives all the time because they're not taken care of. They don't maintain it. But that's generally just a bigger issue of lack of knowing how to take care of something like a tool, like a knife, is because we don't take the time to learn a skill set, like how to sharpen a knife. I give people knives all the time, especially for scripture memorization. One of my favorite things to do is have people memorize chapters of the scriptures, and I like to give them knives. Like I have a challenge right now. If anybody memorizes the book, the chapter Psalm 119, the whole thing. I have a custom knife that I made that I will give that person. So it's just it's a fun way to learn that. But the reason I'm also preferential towards knives is because they're very quiet. Like I don't, there's a major seriousness to using a firearm, especially like if you're doing assassinations or any types of illicit activity. A knife is something that's readily concealable and is very reliable. Like a small dagger goes right to where you want it to be exactly. Whereas a bullet, when you shoot somebody with a bullet, they're very unpredictable inside a human body. Bullets are not a guarantee. Even if you shoot somebody in the head, which is consistently more reliable, you still have to hit certain off switches in the body to kill somebody instantly. Central nervous system is always the target. And that's why like small, tiny knives, like surgical knives and stuff like this size is really easy for accessing those areas of the body and turning people's off switches off. Or, you know, I don't just mean it to be specialized specifically to people, but it's just, I'll just tell you, that's what I did for a long time. And it's something that a knife is a much more efficient tool in that regard. There's guys that are really into using rifles and firearms and that kind of stuff, and I totally understand it. I just never wanted to be seen or noticed. And so a firearm is an incredibly fast way of getting seen and noticed. And it's very, very obvious that someone got shot. Even if you use a suppressor, there's no such thing in creation as a silencer, y'all. It's a super movie myth. Every time a suppressor firearm goes off, you know a gun went off. There's one select firearm that's absolutely wonderful. That's a little distinct, called the Vepr VP9, or was the Well Rod back in World War II, which has super thick rubber baffles to try to suppress it. But there's no cycling of the action, that metal slide going back and forth. All of these things are very noisy and noticeable, especially if it's very quiet. And so instead, a knife allows you to be able to carry something on your person on a regular basis that you can become proficient with, and is actually a very effective tool for protecting yourself or protecting people around you and their better interests. Now, it also requires intimacy, meaning you have to be willing to get close to somebody to do something that commits massive bodily harm to another person, which requires a lot of mental fortitude. There's a book on, I highly recommend, if any of you ever want to be proficient at doing anything like that, like you want to carry concealed firearm, you want to carry knives on your person, you want to learn self-defense, you need to learn the mindset of killing. You need to understand the psychological resistance that's within every single one of you. This book is written by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, required reading for like the FBI Academy, even the United States military. This was like a mandatory reading because it deals with why inherently people don't want to kill each other. You know, all the way up until the Vietnam War, over 80 to 85% of soldiers would not fire at the enemy. And that's going to be like really shocking because you've been programmed by all kinds of movies that show people like during the Civil War lining up and standing 30 yards apart from each other, shooting Smoothbore muskets at each other, and then they're all like falling down and dying. The reality is they would do that for hours, and there might be 1 to 2 casualties over the course of a long engagement. Even though they were accurate enough to hit consistently, they should have been able to kill 400 people, cause 400 casualties within the first minute. And yet these battles would last for hours because soldiers would naturally fire above the enemy's head, or they actually wouldn't fire. He has an example in here in the first couple chapters where they take all of from Gettysburg, the massive battle in the Civil War, where they went in and examined the Civil War muskets that were found during that battle. And they found like 24,000 of them. Half of them were still loaded. And among those, many of them were loaded multiple times. So what that meant is that people were literally not firing. They were acting like they were shooting. They were acting like they were doing it, but all they were doing was reloading. This is because innately inside people, there's a massive resistance to killing another person, especially when you know you're going to do it. Like when you aim a firearm at somebody and press the trigger and you know you're going to cause massive bodily harm, there's a resistance to that. And so they took that research from those wars preceding this, and there's these people that study this that are literally called like there's a doctorate degree of death that you can get in studying the arts of death and studying all this stuff. And they took people and they tried to engineer a psychological training program, trauma-based mind control program in our basic combat training schools. So like when a soldier back during the war in Vietnam, they brought out a lot of this psychological training to try to dehumanize the natural resistance that we have to killing another person, to turning them into a target, and to use life-shaped silhouettes to be able to watch what it looks like. Like even back in Fort Knox, Kentucky, we had a day where we sat down and watched videos of people being killed, shot, blown up, destroyed. Hours and hours and hours of detailed footage of what it actually looks like when you see another person get shot and the actual effects on a human body. Like people don't get blown backwards and recoiling back like you see people getting dragged away and stuff like that. Like the amount of recoil that's in someone firing a handgun is going to be the same recoil that's going to cause impact on another person's body. People don't just pirouette and fall out. You can shoot somebody 4, 5, 6 times, and they still have an incredible ability to keep fighting. Handguns, most people that are shot with handguns, 85% of them survive being shot with handguns here in the United States. It's not a reliable way of killing another person. Armies use rifles for a reason. Like, you're going to use a rifle to try to stop somebody. Same principles applies. If you're going to try to assassinate somebody, there's a reason you use a long gun in any circumstance that you can. But this book goes into a great detail on the most difficult resistance that people have to psychologically killing another person is using a knife, is using your bare hands to shove your thumb through somebody's eyeball into their brain, which is one of the most effective ways to kill somebody in hand-to-hand combat. But it almost never happens because there's massive resistance that people have. So he deals with ways of trying to overcome that and handle that or manage your expectations so that you're not psychologically devastated in the after effect, because we lose a lot of people after they've committed massive acts of violence. We lose a lot of soldiers, marriages. 90% of soldiers who go over to combat are going to come home and they're going to have a divorce. Like, it has horrific effects on the body psychologically.
PTSD. We had the wife of a super soldier who went berserk after a while.
Did you have her on? What are you talking about? On the show?
She was she was a regular guest for a while. She had a husband who served in the Gulf War.
I think he was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he came home and literally tried to kill her and went totally ballistic. And this was some time afterwards. This was in Reno, and the police came, they arrested him. I don't know if he's out now. They put him in a nursing home for a little bit, but he was in jail for attempting to kill his wife and firing off a gun into the wall. And we had his 911 calls, which were, he was literally, he lost it.
Oh, that's absolutely brutal. There is a real, like I talk about it with people, is that there's a real soul tie that's connecting you to persons that you've killed. If you've engaged in
this entire unit was taken out.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And the methodologies that are utilized by the Veterans Affairs in particular are the most destructive ones that you could possibly use. The forms
I absolutely concur.
They drug people into psychosis. Like, there's no uncertain terms about it. They want soldiers to kill themselves. That is the predominant function of the VA. They are here to make sure very good trained killers go insane and kill themselves. That's the goal, or kill others around them so they can get rid of them.
As a matter of fact, one of the individuals who was a handler who sex trafficked me out of the crazy house when I became enemy of the state, he was a commander at the DAV in Illinois. He knew my blood type, Nathan.
Oh.
I didn't even know my blood type. He knew things about me that no one knew because he had my jacket and he had my codes.
It's awful having these people be placed in these positions that gives them access to so much power and so much ability to harm people. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, Penny. Yeah. There's a lot of people
you had to go through what you went through. Nathan, how can people find you? Because we're coming to the end of this hour.
Yeah, they can reach out to me at snatchedfromtheflames.com is my website. You can reach me over there at snatchedfromtheflames@protonmail.com. I have my book available there, Snatched from the Flames, as well as an audio version of that book, an ebook, and everything else right there at youtube.com/Nathan Reynolds or Rumble, the Linen Railroad, and TikTok.
Are you on Twitter, X?
I'm not on Twitter yet. No, ma'am. I haven't done that.
You should go on there so people can, DM you and get in touch with you.
Okay. It's a great idea. Thank you so much again, David and Penny. Always appreciate you having the time with you guys.
Thanks for the education. I mean, it's you present, and thanks for the questions to everybody who's in the chat. If you have questions for our guests, you can put them in the chat room, and Penny and I will, more Penny than myself, but we'll read these questions. So just feel free if you have a question for one of our guests. Nathan, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, have a good day.
You too. Nathan Reynolds here on the Awake Nation, and I don't know, for some reason knives have always just scared me.
You know what?
Okay.
Remember Psycho? Remember Psycho?
Yeah.
So I believe that's the reason that they changed the DSM from psychopath to sociopath, because they changed it right after the movie Psycho came out.
Yeah. I believe so. But we could go out with the music cuts like a knife, but we won't do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Thanksgiving promo once again, because I want you folks to be aware that even though we will not be here live on Thursday, Thanksgiving, we're going to have a show for you. And it's this.
Awake Nation will be on vacation Thursday, November 23, 2023, in observance of Thanksgiving. We will return Friday, November 24.
Thursday, November 23, 2023, please watch our Thanksgiving Day special. We begin with an hour interview from Dallas, Texas, in which I spoke with James Files, who states he fired the kill shot from behind the grassy knoll 60 years ago on that fateful day, November 22nd, 1963, which resulted in the death of President John F. Kennedy. He speaks candidly about his experience with the CIA as an operative with the mob, his career as an assassin, Sam Giancana, Judith Campbell Exner, Marilyn Monroe, as elucidated in his book. James Files is a co-author with wife Pamela Ray Files of Primary Target, JFK, How the CIA Used the Chicago Mob to Kill the President. You can purchase his book on Amazon.com. This is an interview you do not want to miss. Following our video with James Files, watch 3 hours of pre-recorded video with James Fetzer. James Fetzer, international speaker on JFK and founder of 911 Scholars, of which Jim Mars was a member. Jim Mars was the author of Crossfire, which was the basis for Oliver Stone's JFK. A great lineup for Thanksgiving you don't want to miss. It's Fetzer time. 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 And now, let's talk turkey. Remember to watch The Wake Nation daily, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, and 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. In remembrance of our friends near, dear, and departed. On behalf of The Wake Nation, with co-host David Zublick and Penny Shepard, we humbly thank our Dark Outpost and Awake Nation family. Awake Nation wishes you and yours a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
I always have to laugh at the you and yours. What does yours mean? I assume it means your family, but it was you and yours.
Well, one never knows. I mean, your family could be dogs.
That's true. Why don't you tell our wonderful audience about our next wonderful guest?
Okay, so our next guest, I found him actually on X. His name is Hernando Arce. Hernando is a citizen journalist in Texas. He is also a U.S. Navy veteran whose motto is "For God and Country." Hernando was illegally arrested while he was video recording in a public Texas airport. He was video recording the illegal human trafficking invasion happening in America. He was filming illegal immigration. he is fighting to close our open borders. And hopefully we will be having him on a regular basis, apprising us of issues regarding this illegal immigration. Hernando, thank you so very much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Penny, and thank you, David, for this opportunity to be on the Awake Nation. Glad to be here.
Listen, it's an honor to have you on the show. So, tell us the backstory behind this. You were at an airport and you were filming, I'm assuming. Tell us how this came about and what happened to you.
Well, thank you, David. And I like to be totally transparent with the audience you have. And there is a backstory to the video that went viral on the internet with the arrest at the airport. It all started 2 weeks prior to that, November 4th, which was a Saturday at 1 o'clock in the morning. Understand that I've been documenting this invasion of illegals at the welcoming center, the migrant welcoming center, the city calls it. It's about a mile from the airport. So this all started at the welcoming center, which I call it the illegal human trafficking center, because that's what it is.
And what city is this?
San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, okay.
Yes, sir. And so I'm there every day at different types of times because I like to get an idea what the patterns are in this facility. And this particular evening, I noticed something very strange, and that was the fact that the bus was not unloading illegals into the center. They were loading illegals into the center at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I said to myself, that's odd. Let me go follow the bus, obey all traffic laws and follow the bus, see where it leads to. I didn't know where it was going. Winds up going 2 miles from the center to the airport. So the center is strategically located by the airport, right? I follow the bus. It takes me not to the airport, David, Penny. It takes me to the back of the airport where there is a warehouse. They just put this warehouse together a few months prior. They never asked the community for permission. The community doesn't know. It's in San Antonio City Airport land. It's owned by the city. And so when I got there,
that was interesting, Hernando, because I did not know. I had to ask you who actually owns the airport, because it's public, right? We all go to the airport where, we film at airports, we film our loved ones, we film, flights going. And so I've never heard of anyone telling you that you cannot film at an airport. So I actually had to ask you, who actually really owns the airport?
Oh, great question, Penny. The city of San Antonio owns the airport, and who owns the city of San Antonio? Their constituents. It's a public property. They're getting back to the story. When I was driving and following the bus into the back of the airport, it's a little bit dark back there. There's a lot of warehouse hangars. There were no trespassing signs. No, there were no do not enter signs. It's a regular street, and so the bus pulls into the warehouse. I get out of the vehicle. I start recording like I do with my iPhone. I'm a one-man crew. There's no production crew here. I'm the show right here, right? And so once I did that, you had like security come out of the building. You had all these NGOs come out of the building to the gate. I did not enter the property. I was on a street and a sidewalk. They called the SAPD on me, and we had a little bit of a standoff, I guess you want to call it. Long story short, SAPD had to call the duty manager of the airport because to give a warning, which is what they did. They gave me a warning. They gave me a criminal trespassing warning, a verbal warning. So that's the way the law works here in San Antonio, right? And most cities, most counties. They asked for my ID. I didn't have to give it to them, but I was complying. And I told them, listen, all I want is the video of the illegals going into the warehouse. They did not want me to film that, guys. Matter of fact, the manager, the director of that warehouse said, "Oh no, you're mistaken. There's nobody in that bus. There's nobody in there. You're wrong." So I was not able to get the footage.
Okay.
I left peacefully, and that leads to the story of last week where I got arrested because I went back. Warning already. Copy.
Right.
Excuse me. So as the story goes, last week, again, I'm at the center. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I see another coach bus. These coach buses hold 60 people. So what do? Do I stay at the welcoming center and sleep in my own bed, thinking maybe I might get arrested? But it's public property. Why would I get arrested, right? That warning was an unlawful warning 2 weeks prior. And I called that supervisor and I told him, I left message on the phone to please call me back because that warning he gave me was illegal. He never called me back, never emailed me back. So, I did what I had to do for the country and for God and country. I followed the bus. It went to the terminal. It didn't go to the warehouse. It went to the terminal. So I get out of the vehicle. I started recording the buses coming, the illegals coming out of the bus into the terminal to be taken into the interior of our country, never to be seen again, to go into the shadows, 10 million of them. So they called SAPD again. And, once they had my description, why I was there, they put one and one together and then they arrested me.
Okay. And this time and what was the charge actually because you were filming, or did they just say because you were trespassing?
The charge was because I was criminal trespassing on, get this, David, private property.
Okay.
Private property. So my lawyer's gonna have a fun day with this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean and you posted this video on your X page. Is it still there?
Of course, I got a 6-part series on the first encounter and a 6-part series of the arrest, all for you guys to enjoy while you have your popcorn.
Okay, I want to take a look and see. I'm going to see if I can find your video here.
Sure.
But
scroll down.
Okay.
So while you look for the video, I'll continue with the story.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
Very good. Unless you have any questions, just interrupt me.
No, keep going. I want to give.
So yeah, I was handcuffed, and I was put through the process, guys. I was put through the process with fingerprinted, photograph. They shackled my feet for 25 hours. I'm innocent. As all the inmates in the prison say, I'm innocent. I learned a lot in that prison, guys. This legal system in our country and this city is broken when it comes to the masculine man. And I met illegals in there as well. And I met human trafficking men in there, illegal human trafficking men in there. So, I mean, if I had a camera, I would have had a great story to share with the public. Unbelievable what's going on in this country. And so I was released on my on a $1,000 bond. My sister was able to bail me out. What a horrific experience. I don't have a criminal record. I've never been involved with the law. I don't even have a parking ticket. And here I am, handcuffed. Why? Because I'm exposing the corruption of the American cartel. Just like Mexico has a cartel, the Mexican cartel, the cartel we have here is America, and Biden regime is up. Enemy number one in our country, if you ask me. Yeah, that's my my X account.
And is this the video here?
That's one I took last night.
Okay. Where's the one that got you in trouble?
Oh, it's further down. It's go to my last week's timeline on November 16, 17. I post a lot of videos, so yeah, continue to go down.
That's fine, because this is an injustice what happened to you, and I want to make sure that people understand.
Those images are the protests I had this weekend, but continue down.
Okay.
You're almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Keep on going. Keep on going. All right. Keep going. All right. Right there. That's it. With the hat on. With the Trump hat. Okay. That's when I got arrested. That's the money shot right there.
Okay. Here we go. Let's play this.
See if you can open the screen.
How you doing? All right. Good. Can I get your name and badge number?
Officer Trapp. It's San Antonio Airport Police Department. Badge number is 9953.
Thank you, sir.
Is there an issue today? Or?
No, I'm just recording. I'm a citizen journalist.
Stay right here. That's all, man.
No, I'm just gonna record them coming off the bus. I'm not gonna get in their way. For some reason, they don't want to drop off the illegals.
They were playing cat and mouse game. They wouldn't drop them off because I was filming.
It's like a little cat and mouse game here.
They were going around the airport. Unbelievable.
Is Corporal Perez in today? I'd like to speak with him. Sorry? You have a supervisor?
Yes.
Is that Corporal Perez?
It's a
SAPD?
supervisor. I can't guarantee which one.
Well, he's usually the night shift.
Yeah, we have multiple night shift supervisors.
How about night duty manager Frank Constantino?
Right here. At least that way there.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna follow the
Can I
boss.
get your name?
Concerned citizen. Perez knows my name. I'm not breaking any laws. This is public property, officer.
No, sir. This is the airport.
Yeah, who owns the airport?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So that makes it what? Thank you, which makes it what? Who pays the city's expenses? Taxpayers.
You said you made contact with Corporal Perez before?
Yeah, he's familiar with me.
Sir, I need to get your name.
What, did I break a law?
No, sir. You said you made contact with
That
Corporal
doesn't
Perez.
mean anything. So get my name from him. Or from Frank Perez. Frank Constantino. Night manager.
Let's keeps going.
Duty manager, whatever they call him. I was already here. I come here all the time. I'm like paparazzi, you know? Paparazzi, they go to airports to record Kanye West. For TMZ, same thing. I don't want to be harassed by you, sir. You're interfering with my story right now. Well, just, you know, just don't trespass me, all right? I'm staying away from the bus.
You say you want to speak with the supervisor?
All right, good. So he can explain to you that I'm not breaking any laws.
So we do have one person that's criminal trespass. They match your description.
Right.
So that's why I'm trying to get your name. Do you come back clear? No, that's all right.
Go ahead. You want to arrest me? That's an unlawful arrest. You may have to get litigation with the lawyers involved.
Ching ching.
So we got a second shuttle bus here. All right, at least he's dropping them off, for God's sakes. This one doesn't want to drop them off. Oh, we got another shuttle bus. 60 passenger.
Hi, sir.
How are you? Can I get
Price, the airport, please?
Price? What's your badge number, sir?
9921.
Thank you, sir.
What's going on today?
I'm just I'm a citizen journalist doing my First Amendment protection of the freedom of press.
Okay.
That's it.
Were you issued a criminal trespass warning for the airport?
I don't rather not say anything right now. I don't want to answer any questions.
You did say you made contact with Corporal Perez. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I think he issued a criminal trespass warning for you.
Okay. I'm in a public place, so if you want to,
Yep.
you want to go hands on now? I'm in a public place, officer. Be careful what you do.
Right now, I'm talking to you.
All right. Right now, you're interfering with my job.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll stay with you.
You have a driver's license on you?
No.
You don't have a driver's license on you?
Unless you're expecting me for breaking the law, yeah. I'm not going to give you any ID.
Right now, you are detained.
Okay, good.
You have a driver's license on you?
Detained for what? What was the crime?
Right now, we're just investigating what we got called.
Nah, see, now you're playing word games with me now.
Okay. You have a driver's license on you?
Hey, I'm not getting in their faces. You don't need to do that. I'm not running away. Officer Price says I'm being detained for reporting in a public space. There you go. They're about to arrest me. There we go. I'm turn it off.
Okay. All right. There you go.
There you go, America 2023.
Well, and you handled yourself perfectly. I mean, you did absolutely nothing wrong. You were polite. You made no aggressive actions toward any of them, and that is a public. How can you be trespassing in a public airport in a drop-off zone? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a travesty what's happened to SAPD. Understand that the DA here in San Antonio is a man named Gonzalez, who's been bought and paid by George Soros. So
Right.
I'm gonna have my date with George Soros, and let's see how he reacts to this arrest. He may just give me the whole 6 months. Who knows? In this courts, the world we live in with this judicial system. Look at Donald Trump, right? So.
Would you estimate how often those buses drop people off there, and how many are on average got off that bus?
We have multiple buses dropping off there. It's a 24-hour, 7-day operation, the center. It doesn't stop.
Right.
You know, usually in the winter months, like November, December, winter months, it slows down. It's actually picking up now. If you go up to my recent photograph, my recent videos, which I was there, it's picking up. It's not slowing down. So to answer your question, the center, the occupancy for the center in terms of people is supposed to be 700, but you have 700 people coming in there a day, and that's not my stat. That's the stat from San Antonio dashboard. They have a dashboard with the NGOs telling us how many people are coming through, like a revolving door. So you have 800 people coming through it on average per day. However, they don't leave. They stay there because a lot of them don't have any money to go into the interior. They have no sponsors. They have no family or friends. So they're just stuck in limbo. And what do they do to those people? They make them stay outside in the streets and sleep on the dirt. And so you look at those videos of me recording outside the center around the perimeter. You have over, maybe 2,000, I would say, on average in that center. And the way they treat these people after the third day of the welcoming center, they're telling you get out. You have to leave, and they're like, well, I don't have any place to leave, and so it gets really, really ugly in this. And then
and do they arrest them and charge them for trespassing them and take them to jail? No.
They actually, David. Do you ever see those yellow envelopes these illegals carry through the airport? Right? You seen those? They hold in a yellow envelope. You seen those?
Yeah.
I read them. I stay outside the gate, right? I don't see any journalists doing it, but I asked them, by the way, what do you got in those papers? Can I read it? Because I could interpret it to you in English because they don't speak English. So I said, I'll do you a favor, pro bono. I'm not a lawyer, but I will read those documents for you. And can you believe that those documents say that they've been arrested at the border, Eagle Pass, Laredo, Brownsville. They've been arrested, but they're not handcuffed like I was, okay? They have a release on own reconnaissance, ROR, with no bail. I had to post $1,000 bail. They get no bail. That's the irony of this all.
You had to post. Now, that's what I was going to ask you. After this video was shot and you were arrested, where did they take you? Did they take you to jail?
Yes.
Okay, and you had to post $1,000 bail, which is you have to post 10% of it, $100.
10%. Yeah.
10%. And and then what were you specifically? What was the charge?
Criminal trespassing on private property. I have a
Criminal. Okay, on private property, but it's a public airport. It's not private property, so you got it's one thing. Okay, and when is your next court date?
They haven't given me one yet. They haven't given me one. So, in a real world, it would be dismissed. They would drop the charges, but we don't live in the real world anymore. We live in a police.
You haven't even been arraigned yet.
No.
Okay.
Well,
we have a comment, Hernando. We have a comment. Elmar W. I find it interesting that society gets all mad when they see someone filming in public, but don't have a care in the world. The government is surveilling everyone from the streets to the bathroom to the bedroom. Shaking my head.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. It is. That's the truth. And it's just travesty what's happening here. And it just happened that this happened 3 days before my protest. We had a protest at the center.
Right.
So it brought more attention to
Did you
the protest.
advertise about that protest on X?
Yes, the videos are there on X on my protest. It's called "Stop the Invasion, Secure the Border" protest. And I'd like to give a shout out to my group that organizes this here. This is not our first protest. We've had like 3 or 4 protests since the center opened. So the group I'm a part of is called Beyond the Mask. Beyond the Mask. They're on X. And the reason it's called Beyond the Mask is because we've been fighting tyranny for the last 3-4 years with the mask and the vaccine. This is not our first time to the rodeo, So yeah, they're tyrants. And
So you're protesting a number of different things. How long have you been a citizen journalist? What got you started in this? Because you're very passionate, and I think you're doing a lot of good work. But how did you get started in all this?
Does it show my passion? Well, I'm a political refugee from the state of New York State.
Oh yeah, well, there you go, right there. Wow.
Yeah, I escaped there 10 years ago. What got me into this? I don't know. I'm the only one out of a family of 7 that's conservative in values. I've been documenting these illegals since Obama took office. You know.
You're also a veteran.
Sorry.
You're also a veteran, are you not?
Yeah, veteran as well, U.S. Navy. But I do it for God and country because I like to use the analogy, being that I'm in San Antonio, the Alamo. 187 years ago, 200, 300 men were against 3,000 Mexican army with the Santa Ana general. And they were fighting for their sovereignty, the sovereignty of Texas, right? So we fast forward to today, the 21st century. This is the 21st century Alamo, because we're not just fighting for our sovereignty in Texas. We're fighting that sovereignty for the country, for the United States of America. And that window is closing because over 10 million illegals in the last 2.5, almost 3 years now is overwhelming, because you can't have an open border and an open welfare system. Okay, if these guys qualify for refugee asylum, which we know they don't, then they're gonna get benefits and a social security card, and they can bring in their immediate family. The chain reaction with the others. So it's of course we all know it's a Cloward Piven strategy, and this is all run by the United Nations, by the way.
Hernando, I have a question for you. What are your feelings? Because in New York, there's this is a huge issue. I have a couple friends that live in New York that have been protesting out on Long Island, in which they took a nursing home, dumped the nursing home residents out of the nursing home, and they were funded to house immigrants. I also had another video of an individual that was on a bicycle sometime at 12 in the evening, and he was filming these immigrants being let in. They had their suitcases and they were going to hotels. They've been housing them at hotels. They're also kicking out veterans from these hotels. Can you tell us what your
homeless veterans? They're kicking them out to put these illegals in. Yeah.
Right.
What's your statement on that? What
well,
would you like to say?
Yeah, that's I've seen that before in New York City with the first surge back in the day, and but it's gotten to a level where it's you got 5-star hotels being turned into these immigration. They destroy the apartments, those hotel rooms. They come with this attitude of that they are worthy, that they're virtuous illegals, and that they should be granted all these benefits. It's a different mentality today. Some of them are humble, but a lot of them, especially the men, are expecting these things. This is all a money grab, guys. Penny, David, this has become $1 billion industry with these NGOs. And so when I see that,
what's the average age of the people coming in here? I mean, that you saw
25.
Okay, so mostly young men.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my center, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so did you see any women or children coming in?
Yeah, a lot of family units, and family units. You could see that they're supposedly parents, right? Because they don't do the swab test. They stopped doing the swab test to verify because it took too long, and they need to move them along. So these parents, they have ankle bracelets on, ankle monitors. Did you know that?
Oh no,
I did not.
I know that.
Yeah, we've seen that starting about 4 months ago.
Ankle bracelets that were put onto them in the country that they came from?
Oh, no. This is done by
this country. Many of them, as far as we have JJ Carroll on our show every Monday. He's author of Invaded: Intentional Destruction of the United States. He was a special agent in charge of Border Patrol in California for 24 years. And he has illuminated that this is a contrived destruction of the United States. Additionally, we have terrorists and terrorist cells that are coming through, fighting age men who we don't have backgrounds on, many of them.
No, we don't.
Because it's not in any kind of a database because of some of the countries that they come from. We have, he showed me pictures. I can actually see things in pictures. It's just a skill set I have. He showed me pictures of these men, and I said, those two right there know one another. They were separated, but I said they know one another, and they are mercenaries, and they've killed people. And those two over there know one another, and they're mercenaries, and they've killed people. It's his assertion, which I concur with, that they're joining sleeper cells to take down the United States of America. What's your statement on that?
100%. I mean, they've caught already 200 this year alone. The estimates that there are tens of thousands of these nefarious people in our country, whether they be jihad terrorists, Chinese, Russian, Ukrainian. Yeah, they're already here. They're infiltrated. They're sleeper cells, and they're waiting for the green light to go. And you could thank Joe Biden regime for that. So the documents that I read, these illegals say that they've been arrested, they're released on their own reconnaissance, and then they have a future court date. A lot of people don't know this, but they have a future court date, usually within a month or two, to see an ICE judge, not a refugee asylum. In those documents, nothing says refugee. Okay, they have no status. They came without inspection. These are the legal terms when they cross through the Rio Grande River. So they have pro bono lawyers, like 2 or 3 pages of lawyers where the city that they're going to, and those are that. No one talks about the lawyers, the association, American Lawyers Association in our country, making hundreds of millions of dollars, giving these illegals advice how to get around a system, which I think is disgusting as well as the other NGOs, the Catholic charities. I thought these leftists believed in separation of church and state. They're working hand in hand with the Catholic charities and these faith-based non-for-profit organizations, Endeavors, Borders, Humanity Borders. There's so many of them I can't even count. But yeah.
Now you said you've been following this since Obama was president, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Did you notice a downturn in the amount of illegals crossing the border under President Trump?
Oh yeah, he had historically, I think going back 40, 50 years, he had the lowest amount of illegals entering our country with Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, because it was policies. I think the number is around 600,000 a year, which is a lot. It's almost over 500,000. But compared to what it is now,
my God. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And those are the ones we know. What about the unknowns? Those are the scary ones, And I picked up. I was talking to a cartel gang member in prison. Tattoos all over his face, bald head, everywhere tattoos. 30 years old, Spanish guy. I asked him, "Who are you currying?" He goes, "Listen, the guys that are coming through the Rio Grande, they're coming here because for economic reasons, which, by the way, does not qualify for refugee asylum. Because you want a better life doesn't mean you're going to get granted. So right away, we know that they don't qualify for refugee asylum, right? What qualify for refugee asylum? You have to be a fear of your government, fear of the government killing you, right? That's what qualifies. So getting back to this human trafficker, he said the people I'm picking up have money. They're Chinese, they're Middle Eastern. They $10,000 a head. He was making like $10,000 a run with 3 or 4 illegals in a van, just chasing it out of Texas. So it's a different economic demographics for the ones that use the cartels and the ones that come in through the Rio Grande.
How many of these are drug cartel members in your estimation?
How many of the illegals are drug cartel members?
Yeah.
I mean, the ones I speak to, the majority of them are not. I think the majority of them are here for work and for a better life.
Here for the majority of him. Okay, but there is a certain amount that are coming in here that could be on a terrorist watch list. We've had several people mention, and they're fentanyl dealers. Now, we have one of our guests indicated that there's a very real possibility of somebody setting off a fentanyl bomb, or more than one in this country, which, as you know, there's not enough Narcan to go around to, you can get Narcan over the counter, but it has to be inhaled. And if you've already passed out and there's nobody there to give you the Narcan, you're kind of screwed. So you're saying that most of the ones that at least that you're seeing that you have documented through your camera and everything else seem to be coming in here because they're looking for a better life. We're finding that some people, like some of these Argentinian refugees who've come to Chicago and New York, and they take a look at the city, they take a look at the fact that it's now getting close to winter in many of these areas where it's going to be extremely bitterly cold, and they're turning around and heading back home saying there's nothing for us here because they're sleeping on the street in tents. Are those the ones you're talking about that we're just here looking for work and can't find it and they're giving up?
Yes, those are the ones I'm talking about. And I have met a few illegals that want to go back home. I mean, they just got here like 3 days ago, and they're like, "Who can I talk to about returning me back to Venezuela?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Good luck with that, buddy."
They end up on the streets, and this is it. So I know you have a Give, Send, Go, so I'm going to share that while I'm here, and because this is very important. Okay, so let's put this up on the screen. Supporting Hernando Arce campaign, and who is Elizabeth? Is that your wife?
My sister.
Your sister. Okay, and so you have a goal of $5,000. I'm assuming this is to cover legal expenses for any charges that you're facing.
Correct.
And so far you've raised $837. We're going to post it's givesendgo.com/Hernando Arce, all one word, HERNANDO ARCE. We'll post the link to that in the description of today's program.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh no, it's our pleasure. So you since you have no idea when your arraignment or anything else is there any possibility that they're just going to forget about you and not do anything to you?
Well, I'm sure they probably want to after they look at the evidence and what they did. Listen, I already spoke to the prominent attorney. The organization of Glenn Beck reached out to me, and
good.
They referred me to an attorney out there in Maryland who has experiences with the Constitution. And let's just say that he is excited and looking forward to his day in court with the city of San Antonio.
Well, I think you have a better chance of getting justice for yourself in the state of Texas than you would if this had happened in New York or Chicago or one of these liberal cities in California or something, where they would probably throw the book at you and treat you like a January 6er. You know what I'm saying? But I think you at least have a better chance of.
Man, I mean, I got a DA that has excited to prosecute someone like me. You see that flag?
Oh, I'm sure.
My red hat. I am your poster child for this Biden's regime designation of an American terrorist. That's where we come.
Right. I know.
You see that flag in the red hat and a wall behind me. That just I'm a MAGA supporter.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a death knell for a lot of people.
Yeah, man, that's the world we live in. It's upside down, man.
So beyond the mask, I'm going to read one of their tweets. NGO mission: Border Hope doesn't take too kindly to reporters. Security calls the cops on us for being on private property. Mind you, the place is full of illegal aliens here in the United States illegally. Conveniently, the Eagle Pass Police Department is right next door. Now, are you still holding? Because you said that when I contacted you, you were at another protest. Can you tell us some protests that you're going to be? I know you're going to be continuing it. Can you tell people where to go to find Beyond the Masks? And then also, if they want to join and help in fighting this illegal immigration, what can they do?
Well, thank you for that, Penny. That quote on Beyond the Mask X. Before the protest we had on Saturday, we had a press or anybody, a citizen journalist like myself, put together a group to go down to Eagle Pass. So that was a day or two before the protest. So they went down. I wasn't able to go because I was in jail and my car was impounded. They went down to the border and they got some great footage of the wire and the fencing and Custom Border Patrol, Texas National Guard, DPS of Texas, City of Eagle Pass, 4 law enforcement at the border, all neutered. They've been neutered. They're letting the illegals in. So that's what my posse was covering. We call ourselves the Alamo Posse. And then they went to that detention center, detention where they processed. That's what They were at filming. They were in public property, not private. And so they didn't get arrested, thank God. A day or two later, we had the big protest Saturday. It was November 18th, Saturday, for 4 hours. Guess who was there? We had Antifa there. We had Marxists there waiting for us.
Oh, yeah.
And they were in there supporting the illegals. So we had to deal with them.
So are you preparing for any future protests? How can people get in touch with you if they want to help you?
Yeah, sure.
How can they do that?
Well, just join us on Facebook, Beyond the Mask, IG, Beyond the Mask, and on X. Just follow me on X, and you'll see I tag Beyond the Mask, Jerry, Chantel, April. These are the Alamo posse. They're the ones that are hands-on.
April Spark, 1890, and Jerry. SA Ramp scope out several groups of illegal aliens crossing the Rio Grande. Texas borders are not secure. You've also sent this to Greg Abbott, to Texas Guard, to CBP, to Texas Highway Patrol. You say they are repelling no one. They will soon all be processed and bused to the NGO mission. Border Hope is less than a mile away. Stop the invasion and secure the border.
Yeah. Those barbed wires, those containers, it's all theater. It's ngats, as the Italians say. It doesn't mean anything. Why? Because they just jump over the containers, and the illegals are known.
They try to sue the United States because they get injured or they die.
Probably. And those razor blades ain't no joke. You cut yourself with an artery, you bleed to death. I'm surprised they haven't done that. No one died yet from those barbed wires. The illegals know to look for the men with the green uniforms, because they know if they find a man with the green uniform, CPB, they know they're gonna be, or red carpet. They become Uber drivers. CPB is Uber now. That's all.
Wow.
Trump, Texas Abbott has failed. He failed us, as well as Biden regime.
Well, I want to let you know that we support you, not 100%, but 1,000%. Again, givesendgo.com/Hernando Arce if you want to contribute. I want you to keep us posted if you could.
Yes, you have my phone number, so you just text me 24/7 because, as you know, I keep my my phone on silent. So if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, just go ahead and text me, and I will return your.
I promise I won't text you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's all right. I have people that do, but
she's up at 3 o'clock.
My phone doesn't ring; it's on silent, so I will attend to it.
Beauty sleep, of course. I will keep you guys posted. It's an honor to be here at the Awake Nation show, and I can't wait to see you guys again and keep you posted on what's going on to our next protest. We have not scheduled one yet, but I'm sure we will be.
I tell you, and if you're at one at a time we're on the air, you want to come on the air live with you, and we'll do live coverage of the protest. We'd love to give you some publicity. We'll help you out that way too, man.
Awesome. I really, really appreciate that. I would love to do that with you guys. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Hernando. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. And again, I do this for God and country.
For God and country. MAGA, too. All right. Hernando Arce here on the Awake Nation. And we will, again, givesendgo.com/Hernando Arce. ARCE is how he spells the last name. And we do support him in these endeavors. Well, let's get back to some news here as we wrap up this edition of the Awake Nation. And remind you, too, please join us tonight by 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We will post another 30-minute newscast that you can follow us at youtube.com/@theawakenation news. You can also watch it on our news website, theawakenation.com, and we will have a 30-minute newscast, but we still have some time now, so let's get to some other stories that we didn't get to before.
Yeah, so here's one that we wanted to get to a little bit before. Rep. George Santos won't seek election following scathing health ethics report. The House Ethics Committee found substantial evidence that Santos broke multiple laws and will refer its findings, including new uncharged conduct, to the Justice Department. Here's the story. Washington embattled Rep. George Santos said Thursday he will not seek re-election next year after the House Ethics Committee released a scathing report that concluded there is substantial evidence he violated federal criminal laws, including using campaign funds for personal purposes and filing false campaign reports. I will continue on my mission to serve my constituents up until I am allowed. I will, however, not be seeking re-election for a second term in 2024, as my family deserves better than to be undergunned from the press all the time, Santos said in a statement on X. He's in the BFLC, the Big Fat Liars Club.
Yeah.
In its wide-ranging 56-page report, the ethics subcommittee tasked with investigating Santos found a complex web of unlawful activity involving Representative Santos' campaign, personal, and business finances. Representative Santos sought to fraudulently exploit every aspect of his House candidacy for his own personal financial profit. He blatantly stole from his campaign. He deceived donors into providing what they thought were contributions to his campaign, but were in fact payments for his personal benefit. He reported fictitious loans to his political committees to induce donors and party committees to make further contributions to his campaign, and then diverted more campaign money to himself as purported repayments of those fictitious loans. This guy was good. The report continues. I mean, talk about flim-flam man on steroids. Santos used his connections to high-value donors and other political campaigns to enrich himself, the report contends. And he sustained all of this through a constant series of lies to his constituents, donors, and staff about his background and experience, it says. In addition, the report says Santos was frequently in debt, had an abysmal credit score, and relied on an ever-growing wallet of high-interest credit cards to fund his luxury spending habits. He also made large cash deposits that he has not accounted for and made nearly $250,000 in cash withdrawals for unknown purposes, the report alleges. Specifically, the ethics panel detailed a host of suspicious campaign expenditures it said did not appear to have a campaign nexus. They included spending at Hermes and Ferragamo stores and on an Airbnb while Santos was on a Hamptons weekend getaway. Botox treatments, and OnlyFans, a subscription-based site often used to host pornography.
That's the one you're on, right? OnlyFans? No, I'm just teasing you.
Really, I don't know, Dave. I know that they recorded me, so they probably put me all over the dark web. But I definitely, if you're on there and you see my photo, I'm a lot older now. That's all I can say.
Gorgeous. No, you would never find Penny there. No.
The ethics committee said it's referring its findings, including uncharged conduct, to the Justice Department. It did not make a recommendation to the House. This is under House rules. Expulsion gaining steam. The damning report has revived bipartisan efforts to oust Santos from office. Ethics Committee Chairman Michael Guest, Republican from Mississippi, plans to file a resolution to expel him from Congress on Friday morning. I don't know if that's already happened because it took a while for us to.
Well, they were going to. I know that when this story came out originally, that he was saying he would not run for re-election. There was already another story breaking on one of the major news platforms, I believe it was Fox, indicating that they were going to try to oust him. I don't know if they did or not. These chances are that's not going to happen. Chances are he's going to get to ride out his term and.
Okay, so this was dated November 16th.
Okay.
So I don't know. Santos easily survived an effort to expel him this month. 179 members voted in favor of expulsion and 213 against. And
because they're all doing it.
Yes, exactly. They're like, keep him here because we want to take a look at his, what was that account? We want to take a look at his OnlyFans, see who else he's got posted on there. Is he dancing around like, Wild Bill from Silence of the Lambs? Santos easily survived an effort to expel him and a high threshold, 2/3 of lawmakers is needed to remove him from the office, from the House. But a handful of Democrats and Republicans who voted against expulsion last time, arguing that Santos deserved due process. Oh my God, seriously? Now say they would vote to remove him based on the evidence in the report. Really? You know, they include Reps Jeff Jackson, Democrat, North Carolina, Chris Delusional, Pennsylvania,
Right.
Zach Nunn. He's involved with probably the papacy because his last name is Nunn. Republican, Iowa, and Ken Buck, Republican, Colorado. Rep Santos has received his due process. This report is fully damning. I will vote to expel him, Jackson said.
Now, I got to say this: if you're going to lie about your past, don't run for the House of Representatives. Run for the Senate, like Joe Biden did.
Right.
Make up all kinds of things about your on your resume, your college degree information. See the difference. The difference between Obama and Biden is that Obama kept all of his records secret and just didn't talk about them. Biden lied about his past, including the other day when he said he was appointed to some naval position, which it turns out never happened.
Biden lied just to keep it private. I think he's the president of the BFLC, the Big Fat Liars Club.
He plagiarized things in college and everything else. He continues to plagiarize speeches, and he made it all the way to the presidency. So what George Santos needs to do is next time run for the Senate and then for the presidency. Okay. Oh my God. A panel of judges in a federal appeals court said Monday that only the federal government, not citizens and groups, can sue under a key part of the Voting Rights Act, effectively gutting the legislation in 7 states. The ruling, which applies to Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, found that only the U.S. Attorney General is able to bring a suit under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The vast majority of the Voting Rights Act claims are brought by private citizens and civil rights groups who foot the bill for time-consuming litigation to protect voting rights. The Department of Justice, with limited staff and resources, typically brings just a small fraction of these cases fought nationally. The ruling is sure to be challenged, likely to the United States Supreme Court, which has limited the voting law's power significantly over the last decade. If this ruling were allowed to stand, it would decimate the Voting Rights Act, said Rick Hasen, an election law expert at the UCLA School of Law. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit ruled Monday that the Arkansas State Conference NAACP and the Arkansas Public Policy Panel could not challenge redistricting maps in Arkansas because Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not provide a private right of action. The groups had sought to challenge Arkansas lawmakers' redistricting in the state, where the Republican-controlled legislature drew 11 majority black districts in the state's 100-seat House of Representatives. The state is 16% black. The ruling affirming a lower court's dismissal of the case goes against decades of precedent in which judges have assumed or specifically affirmed a private right of action under the Voting Rights Act. Since the original Arkansas opinion came down, I think there have been 15 decisions by other courts around the country about whether Section 2 includes a private right of action, and all but one have held like, of course it does, according to Michael Lee, a redistricting expert at the Brennan Center for Justice. Lee said he believes the ruling will be overturned on appeal, but it is currently the law of the land in 7 states. In addition to blocking the Arkansas groups from seeking additional voting rights for black voters there, the ruling will overturn a recent win for the Native American voters in North Dakota. A federal judge ruled last week that North Dakota state lawmakers had diluted 2 Native American tribes' voting rights, violating Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Lawmakers were able to redraw state legislative maps before the end of the year.
Now, this next story, I think this was the whole reason. I think we got bribed. We got a panda bribe by Chi. That's my feeling. I'm sticking with it. Pandas may finally be returning to California as Xi Biden summit yields unlikely diplomatic wins. So, did he pander to Biden with the panda saying, hey, if you give us some of the stuff we want, you can get some pandas out of this?
Yes,
Just
and,
asking.
and of course that to me is unbearable.
Yes, it's panda pandering.
Yeah,
Chinese President.
Pandemonium is what it is.
Yes, it is. Chinese President Xi Jinping's appearance at the event, which was criticized by lawmakers and right groups, followed a 4-hour summit with President Joe Biden. Hey, Joe, would you like a panda? Okay, so pandas might soon be returning to California. Chinese President Xi Jinping suggested suggested Wednesday at a dinner in San Francisco, attended by hundreds of U.S. business leaders. So this is the one that we reported on. The return to China this month of the 3 giant pandas at the National Zoo in Washington has raised concerns that the United States could soon have none of the beloved bears. Pandas, which are an endemic to China, have been a symbol of U.S.-China friendship since Beijing sent the first 2 to Washington in 1972 in what is known as panda diplomacy. Who doesn't like a panda? I was told that many American people, especially children, were really reluctant to say goodbye to the pandas and went to the zoo to see them off, she said. I also learned that the San Diego Zoo and the Californians very much look forward to welcoming pandas back. She did not say how many pandas might be sent to the U.S. or when. The friendly gesture came after a day of talks between Xi and President Joe Biden on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC forum aimed at easing fears that the world's 2 biggest economies could be headed towards conflict. The 4-hour summit was the first time the 2 leaders had spoken in a year. They reached agreement on a number of issues, such as the resumption of military communications and cooperation on counter-narcotics, including curbing the flow from China of precursor chemicals and pill presses that contribute to the U.S. fentanyl crisis. Xi then attended a dinner for U.S. business leaders hosted by the U.S.-China Business Council and the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations, while Biden went to a dinner for APEC leaders. For Xi, the dinner was a chance to court American businesses as China grapples with an economic slowdown. U.S. executives, meanwhile, were seeking insight how to do business in an environment they see as increasingly unpredictable. U.S. lawmakers and others had criticized those attending the dinner as ignoring China's human rights records. It is unconscionable that American companies might pay thousands of dollars to attend a dinner with Xi, said Rep. Mike Gallagher, Wisconsin Republican, chairman of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, citing rights abuses in the Chinese region of Xinjiang that the U.S. government has said amount to genocide. China denies the allegations. Among the roughly 400 dinner guests were Apple CEO Tim Cook, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff, Boeing Commercial Airplanes CEO Stan Deal, and FedEx CEO Raji Subramaniam. Organizer said Tesla CEO Elon Musk attended an earlier reception, but was not present at the dinner. Addressing the room, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said the vast majority of U.S. trade and investment relationships with China is not affected by national security concerns, and that the U.S. is committed to promoting reciprocal trade and investment in those areas. A growing China that plays by the rules is in all of our interests. Xi then spoke for more than 35 minutes, receiving a standing ovation before and after. In a world of challenges, he said, the U.S. and China must handle our relations well. China is ready to be a partner to the United States, and the world needs that relationship, Xi said, adding that there was plenty of room for our cooperation as he rejected the view that China is a threat. We should build more bridges and pave more roads for people-to-people interactions, he said. We must not erect barriers or create a chilling effect. Xi said pandas had long been envoys of friendship between the American and Chinese people. The departure of the National Zoo pandas left Zoo Atlanta's 4 pandas as the only ones in the United States, and their loan agreement expires next year. The San Diego Zoo has not had any giant pandas since 2019, and the last panda at the Memphis Zoo returned to China in April. We are ready to continue our cooperation with the United States on panda conservation, she said, and do our best to meet the wishes of Californians so as to deepen the friendly ties between our two people. I'm going to say they're pandering to us via the panda connection.
And it's like Brooks Agnew said yesterday on the show, Biden basically surrendered to China. Well, we're getting ready to close up. Remember to join us by 6 p.m. Eastern tonight on our news website, theawakenation.com, or our channel, The Awake Nation News on YouTube. We'll post a 30-minute newscast with some of the stories that we did not get an opportunity to get to. But before we leave you today, as you know, Christmas, Black Friday, the official Black Friday. Now everybody's got Black Friday every day. Black Friday. I mean, it started July, for God's sake. But the official kickoff to the Christmas season is always the day after Thanksgiving. Well, according to the National Retail Federation, here are the top 10 toys that adults plan to buy for kids this Christmas. For boys, Legos, Hot Wheels, cars, PlayStations, video games, trucks, Nerf, Spider-Man, remote control cars, and Pokemon. For girls, Barbies and other dolls, makeup, clothes, LOL dolls, baby dolls, squishmallows, arts and crafts, and a Barbie dream house. So,
does it come with a GI Joe with a carry license?
I don't know, but that gender neutral parenting movement really hasn't taken hold, has it?
I guess
we
not.
still want those certain. Now, here's the thing. Here's the one question I have. Barbie apparently is huge. How come the movie Oppenheimer missed an opportunity to get in the merchandise tie-ins for Christmas?
Well, actually, because they're blowing up the world in Oppenheimer, but it does release today, as a matter of fact. It releases to the public today, so you can stream it now, today, Tuesday, November 21st.
Well, I know that it's a very depressing movie, so chances are I will probably definitely watch it, but I probably will wait till after the first of the year because I want to have a little holiday spirit this year, and the last thing you want to be thinking about is bombs. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Awake Nation. We will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, to do it all over again. Reminder, the Awake Nation News tonight posted by 6 p.m. Right now, we're out of time, so we are out of here. Zublick out.
Shepard out.
Goodbye for today from the Awake Nation. The co-host David Zublick and Aloe Shepard. We invite you to join us live on Rumble and at awakenation.tv, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. Join us for the Awake Nation News, a 30-minute quick shot of truth with a shot of espresso, 8 a.m. to 8:30 Central, 9 a.m. to 9:30 Eastern. Followed by 5 sets of 30-minute interviews with influencers who defy the mainstream narrative. The Awake Nation, the truth with a shot of espresso. Please join us on YouTube at The Awake Nation News for an additional 30 minutes of breaking news, posting Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Eastern. On behalf of the Awake Nation, with co-hosts David Zublick and Penny L.A. Shepard, we humbly thank our Dark Outpost and Awake Nation family. We thank you for watching the Awake Nation and ask you to join us again each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern.
doo doo doo, yeah. Ship doo 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 doo, ship doo 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 doo, yeah.